Hey brothers and sisters in Christ and people of YouTube. It's funny, when you first get saved and you start following God, you start to realise like all the evils in the world, and you unplug from the matrix and you start like getting full of so much joy that you have to tell people, and you go around and you're in such a high, and you're running around and you're like, I have the answer to life, it's Jesus. And you run up to people and they just look at you funny and they're like, yeah, sure, good one, weirdo. And you spend a bunch of time trying to convince people that, Jesus is the way, the truth and the life. Nobody gets the Father but through him. People are just looking at you going, I don't want to get to Jesus, I just want another beer, I just want to go fornicate with that woman over there, Like I want to go to the pub and get paralytic, or I want to get on some drugs, or, I want to do some gambling, all these things. And then you start to lose heart and you realise that the Bible actually does warn you, does tell you that when you come to Christ, it's not going to make your life easier. It's not, like your life you don't suddenly just be flooded in blessings and no bad things happening in your life. It actually gets a lot harder, And when I started having trouble in my relationship, and some days I was just like, man, I should just unalive myself. I've just had enough, Or just get me out of here, Lord. Chuck me in a tornado and shoot me off to another land, And he just send me to Job, You go, man, you just look at Job. And it's like, can't really complain. All right, Lord. It's Job. Job went through so much stuff, He lost 7,000 cattle. He lost 10 children. He lost his house. He lost everything in the one day. And he was a good, righteous man. But the devil tempted God. He tempted him to test Job, And God knew what it was, but he wanted to test Job too. He's like, I'm proud of Job. I'm going to show you. And you sort of, as soon as you become a Christian, it's like you walk on a chessboard, just a giant spiritual chessboard that you don't know you're even a part of it. And things happen, like with my relationship, it's like I didn't just choose someone. That person was put in front of me as a stumbling block, That was the devil's move on the chessboard, like, all right, you're gonna really fall for this one. And I got the perfect person that's like knock you off your path with God and send you down the wrong road. And I can't really be mad about it, because at the end of the day, I chose to go at this person. I went down the wrong road. So at the end of the day, even though I can blame her for her bad deeds she did against me, I can't really feel bad about it, because at the end of the day I should have known better. I was following God, I was on the right path, I was fasting heaps, and I could actually hear the flap of the angel's wings around me. I was just getting so close to God, and then I was thrown off my path, and it's like, for what? For people pleasing, just to get some validation off people. Like I wanted to keep the peace with people. I wanted to just help my wife to elevate her around these people and, lift her up, because a lot of people didn't see her as much, But I saw a lot in her, just like God sees a lot in all of us, It doesn't matter how low you are, how bad your life's going. God sees you as someone he wants to hand a crown out to and say, you're the next king or queen, I've got big plans for you. all you have to do is submit to me. Listen to what I have to say. I have wise words. Listen to them and I'll get you there, you know? And a lot of people don't want to do that, especially the narcissists. They are their own gods. They do exactly what Satan did when he said, I will lift myself up above the Most High's throne, and I will, I forget, just the whole thing where he says, I'll lift myself up above God. And that's just so disrespectful, because God created him and everything else in the universe. But instead of smiting him on the spot, God cast him down. God gave him a real punishment. And the narcissists follow suit. They're basically children of Satan, and they do the same thing, and that's the sad thing, because yes, it is hard to walk with God, but it's not as hard as when you didn't have God, because life without God is misery, suffering. There's not many good moments in life anymore. Like when I was a kid, when I was in my teens, life was good. Like, around the 90s, even when I was a kid in the 80s was joy. It was just like everything seemed to be going well in life. But since 2020 and COVID, it's like the world's just gotten really dark. People are allowed to do anything they want. Like, for instance, the banks have been allowed to just raise mortgage rates to ridiculous levels, where they normally would have someone come up and say, hey, you're raising them too high, and they'd have to lower them, like different corporations or government organisations or all that rubbish. But nowadays it's like, oh no, we can justify it by the fact we had this imaginary disease that we made up, and so that's why we have to raise the rates. But that's not important. That's not really what this message is about. It's just that the world is getting darker, and without God, it's hard to get through it. Like, it really is. Like, with God, you still have peace and joy, no matter what's going on around you. The world's crashing around you, but He sent you the Holy Spirit, the Comforter, and He really does comfort you. I mean, I would never make a YouTube channel before God. I've never seen myself as a public speaker. I've never had any interest in the limelight. I've been what you'd call like an introvert, where I'd just keep away from people. I just didn't have much interest in socializing. Whenever I was in a relationship, I would just have, me and my partner. Maybe they'd have a couple of friends, and I'd have my long-term friends from school. But I'd generally keep away from most people except for the partner I was with. And I didn't have much interest in, going after other things like chasing other women, because I had a partner, So, just sort of kept to myself, kept out of crowds. They just sort of drained my energy. But then I just kept getting messages about me being like a preacher, or someone that speaks on God's word. And I thought, I can't really go to Bible college at this stage of my life. I just don't think that's the answer. Especially, I don't know, the way the world's going. How would I even do it? I couldn't see how to do that. So I was like, oh, maybe YouTube. So that's where I am, and here we are. And part of it was also kept hearing things about my testimony is going to set other people free. Like, not the testimony of my life, but the testimony of surviving a narcissist. Because a lot of people don't even know what narcissism is. Like, if you ask them what narcissism is, they just blank stare you and they're like, oh, I don't get that at all. And even let's just say there's a woman and a man in a relationship that abuses her. It's still probably not narcissism. Like, he might just be a rage fitter and angry person that, and he just abuses women. You know, maybe he got beatings as a kid, you know, that sort of thing. But with a narcissist, it's like it's cold, it's calculated. It's like almost like borderline being a sociopath or a serial killer. It's like they are that cold on the inside that they don't have any empathy. And what doesn't have empathy? A serial killer. Someone that methodically does things that they're not held back by emotions. And while some narcissists they do have some emotions, like they have rage, they have guilt, and they have shame for the things they've done. But it's like they push the shame and the guilt so far down in their body that like it's like they just can't feel it most of the time, because they find ways to drown it out, but it's always there. But yeah, it's just the thing that if someone can act like a serial killer through their life, you know, when you have someone like that in a relationship, they're not going to consider any of your feelings. They're not going to consider you at all. If they're parents, they're not going to be good parents. They're going to protect themselves by acting. You know, they're going to hide all these truths about themselves because they don't want people knowing how they are, because maybe when they were facing childhood and they were like this, they realised it was pushing a lot of people away. So they found a way to hide their true selves, you know, their true nature. And I've been there before, where my ex-narc, she would sit in front of the mirror for a couple of hours going, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why do you keep smiling in front of the mirror? And it's like, oh, I've got to get ready for this party, you know? Yeah, and I thought that was pretty weird that someone would sit there and smile in front of a mirror for 2 hours. But at the time, you know, when your relationship's up in a narcissistic relationship, you'd rather keep it up than down, especially when they don't talk to you for 2 weeks at a time, and they don't give you any indication why they're not talking to you. They just stop all communication. Yeah, so, and this is the thing, now that I think about it, it's like, it is pretty weird for someone to sit in front of a mirror for 2 hours, like, trying to get their smile perfect. It has to be perfect for the camera, and who else needs to do that? Oh, actors need to do that. And why do actors need to do that? Because they need you to believe that their emotion is genuine, which is exactly how an actor works. And this is what the narcissists do. And they'll have different performances for different people, and they'll have different costumes. Like my ex-narc had every room in the house. They've got a 4-bedroom house, and every room had her clothes in it. Even her poor son had to give up half his wardrobe for her. And it's like different outfits for different people. If she's going out with a party girl, she has this really slutty short denim shirt and denim jeans that don't even fit her, because, you know, her busted ass is just hanging out of it. And then, you know, she can't wear that around the other group, so she has to, you know, wear the conservative sort of Christian clothes where it covers the whole body. You know, she's got the boob tape to tape down the boobs, and, you know, she's got something to cover her grace, her hair, so she looks like an authentic Christian person, even though they're not Christians. And the funny thing is, they don't seem to put 2 and 2 together, because, like, they put all this stuff on Facebook, like, and let's say you got 400 friends on Facebook, and some of them like you to dress up like a slut, some of them don't, and some of them are just flat out turned off by it, and you're putting your pictures up there for all of the people on there to see, and it's like you've tried to fool them in real life, but then you're putting it online anyway, so they can see what sort of person you are, like, deep down. And whenever I'd question it, she'd say, oh, just flirt, just for fun. And I just kind of brushed it off what she said, because I was like, she's Vietnamese. Maybe she just doesn't understand what those words mean. Like maybe, you know, and I thought that was really what it was. But no, she speaks perfect English, and she knew exactly what she was doing. And she was straight up telling me that she was quite happy to let me know that she was flirting with other guys while she's with me, maybe even other women, and she didn't have a problem with that, you know. And this is what happens with the narcissist. The more comfortable they get with you, especially when you ignore their red flags and they think, oh, I can get away with this with him, they just become their true selves. And you see behind the mask, you see the fact that they're going to do the dirty on you, and they just don't care if you know. Like, even when I caught mine out, she's just like, oh, so what, you know, like, oh, we're going to continue. And it's like, she just thought we'd just continue because it's just so what, you know, it doesn't matter. It matters to God because we're only supposed to have one partner. And despite the fact in various points in the Bible, some of God's prophets had more than one wife, but it was always for necessity, or it was because, you know, it was a king or something, and it was almost like, I don't know, they wanted to spread the king's line out as much as they could. So they gave him a ridiculous amount of wives. But other than that, it was always supposed to just be one wife, you know? And yeah, the narcs don't care. They're like, oh, you can be my one husband and I'll just have flirt with all these different people. Yeah. And if you're a Christian and you're with one of these types of people, you're not actually, you know, you're not held to stay with them. You're not, even if you're married to them, you don't have to stay with them, because God doesn't authorize a marriage with a covenant breaker, someone that says their vows but like just lies about them from day one. He doesn't authorize that. And if you're with someone that's constantly cheating on you, you can just move on. It's fine. And sometimes you get like sort of caught up in being a good righteous person that you want to do all the right things, even when you know they're doing the wrong thing. You're kind of like, well, I'm going to be like Job, you know, I'm just going to keep suffering it. But that's not what the message of Job's about. It's supposed to be God that puts you through a Job season, not your circumstances, you know. The best thing about going for a walk is all the dogs you get to pat. Run into so many. These ones are actually with their owners though. Geraldton has a bit of a reputation of dogs getting out, and I used to, when I walked my dog, I'd have like 2 extra leads with me just in case, so I could bag a few extra dogs and, you know, get them back to their owner, because it happens all the time. But yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, being a Christian is not an easy walk. It's not a cakewalk. But if you do it right, God will bless you and He'll protect you in all things. Like, you know, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. That's God's promise, you know. Yeah. And I think also, as Christians, we're all supposed to go through a Job season, you know, and that could mean you lose everything, you have to give it up, or He wants you to sacrifice everything, you know, because God always tells you to grab your cross every day, which means laying everything down for Him and putting Him first in your life. It's like day today. We can't really, oh yeah, there it is, there's the sun. Nice beach weather, except for getting in the water. It's still a bit too cold for that. Yeah, but still much prefer this than over Perth weather. Yeah. Now, I suppose the most important thing in life is, don't worry about man. Don't worry about what anyone thinks of you. Do what you feel led to do. Doesn't matter if it seems ridiculous or insane or even risky. Just do it, because you know in your own heart what you're capable of, and nobody can tell you what that is. Even people that look over your resume, they might count you out and go, well, no, he's not suitable for this, but they don't know you. So just keep living in faith and doing what you feel led to do, and try and keep away from people that want to speak negativity over your life. And you might not even know who these people are, because sometimes they might have a smile on their face with a dagger behind their back, you know. But yeah, just use your discernment to help you figure out who's good for you. Test their fruits, you know. I guess one of the most disheartening things as a Christian too, when you're first starting out, is you start leading people to God, and they tell you they want to get baptized, and they seem really interested, and then you find out later they're not even Christians. They basically just lied about the whole thing. They just wanted the validation and the likes for their social media. And for some of them, it's a draw card to show people that they're good people, and deep down inside they're ravening wolves, you know. They're wolves in sheep's clothing, and all you've done is empower a demonically possessed person to be worse than they already were. That's probably the most bitter pill to swallow, because you know, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but you just don't know what's in people's hearts. You know, you got to keep asking God for discernment, you know, wisdom and clarity. And you know, the time I asked God for clarity, he broke my marriage up. But I'm way happier than I was anyway. Like, I was on the wrong path, yoked to the wrong person, and God hadn't sanctified the marriage, you know. So you live and learn. And I'm probably the fittest now that I've been in years. Like, I feel so much younger than when I was with her, and I feel like it's good knowing what food's going into my body, because some of the trouble with the narcissists, they want you to die, they want you to get sick. So they put stuff in your food, like, it's not necessarily poison on its own, but it's you know, over time it'll slowly kill you, and that's sort of what they try and do. They want you to look like you're slowly going downhill, so they can tell people, oh, they I don't know what's wrong with them, they just seem to be putting on weight, and I don't know, I don't think they're exercising as much. They make some excuse up, and because it didn't happen suddenly, like, they just didn't come at you with a knife, you can't say that it was them, you know. And then there's also the spiritual side of it. Like, in my case, there was a lot of witchcraft around the food. Like, some people call it kitchen magic, because it's just lesser magic, and it's people that don't understand what they're doing, but they're sort of trying to get help from the devil, putting stuff in your food, doing things they have no knowledge in. But at the same time, it does affect you, and it can be silly things like they could put a love spell in their food. So for the narcissists, they pass their food around, you know, at gatherings, and they get all these men and women that desire them, and you know, then they can find new supply without having to work so hard. Yeah, so there's many evil things in the world that I still don't have full understanding of, but God's teaching me more and more that as a Christian, you can't go through life thinking, with your blinkers on, thinking everything's going to be okay. Like, you're a target, especially the closer to God you get, the more people want to kill you. Like, especially like in the Bible, there was Stephen, who was a prophet for God. They stoned him to death, the people, and he hadn't done anything wrong, but they found a reason to stone him. And then, you know, John the Baptist got put in jail for telling the Pharaoh not to go after someone else's wife, and so he got beheaded. And then there was Jesus. There was Jesus who was literal God, and God is perfect and never has done a thing wrong, and we killed him, you know. But yeah, I guess this is the end of my rant, because that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just rambling and ranting about things. But yeah, God bless all of you. Jesus loves you. I love you. And have a blessed day.